continue to load up on all of their goods, all of their food, just going through every single city, ripping off all of the merchants, buying all of their food, horses, etc. And we're going to empty this city of food. Now, this city, I think, has all of Baron York's old stuff. I think when you go in here, this is what happens, of course, when a city gets taken. Indeed, as the Baron sifts through the belongings that he used to have that the merchants are now asking a king's ransom for. You could picture the Baron going through saying, yeah, that looks like my old druids. I guess I'll take those. We'll take all this food. We continue to transfer food. We're taking it to Ulster to make it the capital of House York. And we're buying up the nice equipment as we can. We don't actually have a huge amount of money. We're slowly hemorrhaging funds. However, battle looms, and as long as the Baron can be successful in battle, he will be very rich. So we're a little bit encumbered, but I'm trying to seize this brief period of peace where the Sturgeons are busy. The Aserai have given us peace. More accurately, that Lyanna has given the Aserai peace, if you are following the storyline. And I'm going to try to use that in today's episode, use that to make major pushes into Vlandian territory. From the storyline side of thing, of course, Lyanna betrayed her husband. She's still wondering how much he knows. She betrayed him to Wazuban. Wazuban then attacked. The garrison was told to rout. Baron York was captured, and if you watch the cutscenes, presumably Baron York was executed. Now, of course, we know differently because we're still playing Baron York. How that storyline is going to unfold, I will leave it up to your speculation. What you think the Baron is, right? Is the Baron a real person? I have that fun as the content creator of making him however I want. Is he a vampire, right? Is he the real Slim Shady or not? We're going to have some fun with this campaign, and I'm going to keep you guys guessing with the storyline as we roll along here. Of course, he wasn't actually executed after the battle. That only happened also in a storyline. Wazuban presumably, apparently, executed Wazuban, and that is why, executed Baron York, and that is why Wazuban is not attacking House York, because he thinks, he's quite sure that that Baron York is dead. I'll try to keep my characters straight here. Maybe need a little bit more caffeine. Now, Ormondfard is under siege, so we are going to have battle here, but I'm hoping to be able to circle around. We're doing a bit of a consolidation effort here, and this episode, hopefully on some level, it helps people with the early stages of a campaign. Admittedly, this is right in the middle of a gnarly epic campaign here. In fact, let's go ahead and start an episode right here. Welcome back again, friends, to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related. Welcome back to the Baron and this epic Vlandian campaign. We're back in the northwest of the map. The Baron's got all his elite companions, a very solid army, although at the bottom here you do see a bunch of recruits that need some upgrading, and that's going to be the focus, I think, of this episode. Barring changes that occur beyond my control, we are going to try to show you guys what I would do in the early stages of a campaign dealing with a bunch of different stressors at once. Right? Part of the stressors is that we're at war with two kingdoms. However, Sturgia is not really a major factor because they're at war with other kingdoms. Now, we're going to sweep around and try to take Vlandian territory, and I'm taking a little bit of a risk here that we can still get to Ormondfard Castle, drop off food here at Ostacan, and we're trying to pump up Ostacan's food so that the prosperity increases. I've talked about this a lot, but we'll still cover it here. I have all of this food that we've been stockpiling in castles. I'm now going to start dumping huge amounts of food onto the population of Ostacan, and you can picture all of these carb-addicted, obese people suddenly telling their neighbors, there's plenty of food here, or more accurately, telling their uncle who lives 2 towns away, there's lots of food and fish here. You might want to move to Ostacan. That in turn increases the prosperity, and that in turn increases everything from your tax revenues to the size of the militia. And we got to get the Baron some better equipment here. We lost his really nice spear when he was last captured. Of course, I've talked about it before this episode started, that we continue to steal food from other cities. I also talked about the diplomatic situation. The Aserai are at peace with the Baron only because they think he's dead, right? So the Baron York in the head of Wazuban is dead. That's an important role-playing element. Wazuban executed Baron York, so why wouldn't he think he was dead? Of course, if you've been following the campaign, you know all this. Now, this city, I want to take most of the garrison. We need these troops here, right? The security is a problem, partly because there's a hideout nearby. The loyalty is a problem, right? We have to fix this loyalty before we go. Now, you could do festival and games, but then you don't get the benefit of the increased militia. So we're going to cover a few policies here. These are really obvious. Plus 0.5 loyalty every day. The security goes down, but that's all right. It's already low, costs us a little bit of influence. We have lots of influence. Settlement loyalty is increased by 2 per day, right? This is an automatic forgiveness of debt, just like Joe Biden trying to tell all the college students they don't have to pay for it, right? We're going to be forgiving of debt. The citizens love it, and their loyalty goes up. Probably voted for Biden. We won't get political. That's just practicality. That's how it goes, right? By the way, of course, politicians always try to buy votes. That goes back to basically the early stages of democracy. So the militia is solid here, right? 400 plus militia. That means I can gamble a little bit here and take all of these troops to the frontier. Why am I doing that? Because we're going to try to expand in this episode. Now, what do you have here? I continue to try to find clans. We need another minor clan. We have 2 right now. We have these forest people, and we have Skolderbroda. No, I beg your pardon. We have the Brotherhood of the Woods and Skolderbroda. I would like to add a 3rd clan, and either at the end of this episode or in the next episode or 2, we are going to start divvying out player clans. Of course, that assumes we have success, right? We have to have success. And that is a lot of what I'm doing right here is hopefully guided towards success, right? We're taking all of our troops and taking them to the frontier where we hope to expand. Is it a risk? Sure. Absolutely. All right, we're leaving 30 troops inside Ostakan, but the militia's there. The loyalty's going up. It's stabilized because of those policies. We're buying every horse we can, of course. And now, hopefully, this city is being sieged down. It's going to be close. Hopefully we can get to this city, destroy the defenders there. Actually, it might represent a perfect opportunity to do a little farming here. Indeed, it's like a perfect scenario. So ordinarily I would auto-resolve or skip through this, but in this delicate stage of the campaign, assuming we can get here, it's going to be close 38. It's going to be nighttime too if we make it. Come on, baby. Okay, we just barely made it there. I'm going to fight this battle. And I guess what I'm going to show you here is, guys ask all the time, hey, I've got all these recruits, all these low-level levy crossbow or whatever kingdom you're in, these tier 1 and tier 2 units. How do I upgrade them, right? Well, these are your battles to do it in. And I'll show you my process here. I don't expect you to be able to emulate exactly what I'm going to try here, but a similar concept will work for you. It's essentially the biggest key is think of the wolf with her little wolf cubs out in nature. What does she do to turn them into killers? Well, what she'll do oftentimes, what wolves do in nature, is they disable, like a reindeer or some prey object, maybe a young wolf, a young moose, and then they will let their little wolflings, wolf cubs, kind of gnaw and chew at the animal and sort of simulate taking the animal down while its fangs are removed, so to speak. Does that make sense? Basically, the mom lets them get part of the kill once they are in little danger here. So that's what we're going to do. This 3rd division now has all of our weakest infantry. You can see just peasants and recruits galore in there. I guess there's no peasants. What we're going to do is protect them with this 2nd division. Basically a big ring defense, 3 lines deep of cavalry. It's going to be very hard for the enemy to get to our little wolf cubs. Meanwhile, we're going to move our other troops up, and we're going to spread these archers and I guess they're crossbow mostly in big long lines. That way everybody gets to shoot. We want every single wolf cub here to get a bite of the enemy as they get experience, right? And of course, the system in Bannerlord rewards damage. So as your units do damage to the enemy, they get levels, right? They level up, they get EXP. So much of this battle is going to look normal, with the exception, again, of this protective ring around our wolf cubs over here. We're going to systematically move up our units. We're going to pound the crap out of them. We're going to flank them. And then near the end, when the enemy's reeling, you know, when the proverbial reindeer is ready to be eaten, we will let all our little recruits and peasants and low-level Skolderbroda, whatever they are, the naked Skolderbroda units, swing their little hatchet and hopefully get a few kills. And of course the idea is simple. The objective is simple. We're trying to minimize casualties and maximize upgrades. That is one of the biggest keys at this stage of a Bannerlord campaign. It's much more important to me right now than it will be for you, because in most campaigns you can afford to have 200 losses and you're fine. You go recruit some troops, you know, you get some prisoners, no big deal. In our campaign of brutal difficulty, we must limit casualties because we don't have a lot of troops. I remind you, we're not going to be using Battanian troops. So as we advance into Battanian territory, we must shuttle troops forward to the frontier in order to have troops. We can't just recruit a bunch of fiend champs and wildlings. You know, I would love to do that, but that is one of the things we are saying, is that Baron York is a racist. And just like real life, there are consequences to being racist. All right, so we are going to bring our long line of skirmishers here with the cav line. Oh shit, with the cav line right in front of it, and that's going to be protecting. And then we're going to swivel the cavalry around behind the enemy, kind of menace them, and then bring up the skirmishers in a long shield wall. Let them just pound the enemy with throwing weapons. The idea here again is to let every single wolf cub take a bite of the proverbial caribou. Now we're going to get some casualties, right? The enemy's firing, throwing weapons at us and shooting flaming arrows at us. But we have twice as many troops, and so once I get this division, I'm trying to get the 5th and 6th up on this hill so they have great line of sight. The flaming crossbow bolts will start flying. These skirmishers will go ballistic, and then towards the end here we could charge at that 3rd Corps. So just moving the cavalry behind the enemy, it kind of menaces them, and actually it's turning their formation because they don't want their cavalry being run over by all our, or their archers rather, being run over by all our cavalry. But that's precisely what we want, right? Because now they're exposing themselves to all our skirmishers and flaming bolts. Let's move the 7th Division here. These guys can be told fire at will, right? The javelins are going to start raining. And the enemy's in, I use the word too often, but they are now in a maelstrom. Look at that shit. They are surrounded. The flaming arrows are coming in over the head of the skirmishers. The skirmishers can be told to move in for the kill, right? These little wolf skirmishers, get your bite on their little wolf cub. And let's bring the 2nd and 3rd up here for the final little surround and drown. Do you need to do this? No, not at all. But I'm just showing you on a high level how dominating tactics can be in Bannerlord. All right, 2nd and 3rd dragged into the enemy. At this stage, I want all those little recruits engaging, beating on little weakened archers, right? These fiend champs that are in there, they're all set on fire and injured. Now we can have our little wolf cubs attack. The 1st, 7th, 2nd, 8th, and 3rd Division can all charge. Guys are gaining levels, or I guess that was a gal. That's Ifrain, the Wanderer. She's been with us a long time. And there should be tons of recruits in here. Look at them at the back. They're just swinging their little hatchets. And they're getting some casualties. I just saw a couple guys get cut down, but they're poking the shit out of heroes and fiend champs in the face as we surround and completely mob this force here. Now, 5-to-1 is the ratio I like. This is 10-to-1. A 10-to-1 death to upgrade ratio is elite, right? That is what you are seeking for. It doesn't get much better than that. In fact, a Baron, 58-to-1 ratio, that is a beautiful thing, right? 2 deaths and 116 upgrades, right? All of these Vlandian recruits that poke people with their little pitchfork and the levy crossbow, almost every single levy crossbow upgraded right there. You don't have to do that, but I'm sharing you these little tips in case you're in a campaign in a difficult spot, or you're like me and you want to ascend to a high level at whatever it is you're doing, right? That is a picture perfect battle upgrade there. Of course, if you auto-resolve that, you have like 150, 200 casualties, maybe 80 deaths, and you get less upgrades as a rule of thumb. So Necessary? No, not at all. But 118 upgrades. For our campaign, I dare say this is necessary. We're facing monstrous foes. If you've been following the campaign, you know that we need every little inch of advantage we can gain against our enemy. And the Baron welcomes all of these recruits to Tier 2, right? A bunch of levy crossbow, a bunch of footmen. And hopefully we can get on a few more examples like that in this episode. I won't bore you guys to death with mundane battles, but at the same time, in this early vulnerable stage of a campaign, I'm trying to show you guys the bulk of the action. We've got 400 troops because, of course, we went into these battles maxed out. Now, I think this guy might be the leader. So, yeah, here we go. Let's try this. Now, the Baron is not exactly a savvy negotiator, but evidently, you know, fear works. You can picture the Baron menacing this guy saying, well, you could join or we could drag you behind our horse for 150 miles. Which would you prefer? I'll just role play it. I guess apparently that was ineffective. How about we set your skin on fire first? Would you like, is that critical success, right? So you just give these guys a little bit of the terror. How much money do you need here? 40 grand, you little grubby homeless dude. All right, come with us, wolfskins. So we have 3 clans. Now, these are not the 3 clans that I would prefer for this campaign. I would prefer more culturally appropriate, the Boar Company of the Boar or whatever, but we'll take it. The Baron will take all the help he can get. Let's sort this garrison out real quick here. I'm leaving small garrisons and castles, especially castles like this that are going to be sieged a lot. I don't really want to leave troops here because I need these, right? We may face an army of 3,000 in the next episode or 2, in today's episode or the next one. However, I'm counting on the Sturgeons being occupied for a little bit, and the Vlandians are definitely against the ropes, right? They look like Michael Spinks against Mike Tyson here. They are cowering against the ropes, taking haymakers. And the Vlandian Empire is crumbling. If we could take Carbantheth especially, I'm going to circle around. Now, of course, I guess we just gained that trait. The Baron finally gained the calculating trait. You're damn right he's calculating. This is a savage gangster motherfucker here. Now, speaking, look at this guy. I dare you to attack that caravan in front of. I will execute this guy if he attacks right in front of us. Very good decision there, Dashal of the Jawal. We were going to make an example out of that. Yeah, I don't think you want to engage, you dipshit. Now, soon, eventually, we'll be able to pick up some wolfskins into the party, right? So now we have 2 archer clans, the Brotherhood of the Woods and the wolfskins. The wolfskins are probably one of the weaker clans. They're kind of awkward, shield-wearing, weak armor-wearing mercenaries. I would prefer lake rat or something like that. We have a fair bit of lake rats in our army, though, because of all the battles against the Sturgeons, right? We've had a lot of lake rats that we've taken prisoners, and the Vlandians offered us 3,000 gold here. So let's go right before their gates here, just like the Silmarillion here, and let's show them what we think of an offer of peace for 3,000. We'll go ahead and send the no response in with her head and fire it over the gate, and we'll do you a little bit of favor here with the sound. I'm sure you guys don't want to listen to cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo for the next 20 minutes. The Baron continues to be a savage and violent mofo, right? He's going to be ruling with fear. It's the only way he knows. He doesn't have the charisma. He doesn't have the leadership. Uh-oh, Manchug just died of old age. Didn't see who was voted the ruler. I guess we'll let that be a little bit of a mystery. There will be a storyline involved with that as well, because of course on that side of things, that is the children of Baron York, right? The children of Baron York are pledged to Manchug. So 500 Vlandians here. This is still a siege, that you need to be careful with, right? We're going to try to destroy their counter siege. I'll try to do this kind of quickly as we continue to talk about the smaller details. We're going to do player clans, and I'm going to talk about some of the player clans in this episode, in the next episode, and particularly strategies behind them and how to make your clan members perform better. Now, there are mods, right? There are mods that are really effective. You can actually tell them, I want you to siege here. I want you to play defense. I want you to do that. However, for the vanilla player, which is a lot of people, right? All the console players doing the best they can with what they have, I'm going to try to give you a bunch of tips that'll help you make really powerful companion clans and companion clan armies, basically. As they form little armies, I will talk about the best way to sort of supplement and help them out, right? It's a really a necessary process to make life a little bit easier for you, right? You're going to have little problem, I think, once you get to this stage of a Bannerlord campaign, of course, unless you're playing with the mods we're playing here. We have monster difficult mods. On vanilla, once you get an army of 1,000 and you have good tactics, you should be smashing most things into next week. But a little harder with vanilla with the companions, right? The companions will run around and get captured left and right, frustrates people to no end. You'll put troops in their garrison, they'll collect them all and then go get mangled. I'm going to try to help you fellas with that portion, either in this episode or the next few. We're going to spend some time here with the Baron as we flesh out our kingdom. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I'm sure some of the guys, the Patreon supporters and whatnot, that want to be in the campaign as vassals, right? You guys can all be subordinate to me, right? I'm your suzerain. Right, you guys are actually in charge. If only we understood, if only the leaders of our democracies understood that they work for us, life would be very, very different, right? The president is actually the chief servant of the people, just like Frederick the Great used to say, I am actually subservient to all of you fellas. However, of course, I need to have some element of control here, otherwise things would just devolve and get chaotic. So we'll be an enlightened despot, right? Just like Francis II and various other enlightened despots. If you've never heard of that term, maybe we'll delve into that a little bit. Now, this second division is fleshing out into a nasty skirmisher division, partly because we do have, admittedly, we have some Varangians, and I actually can't get rid of them because these minor clans have picked up some. I don't know if they have 10 or 20. At one point, it seemed like we had 30 or 40, but I think the Skolderbroda had some Varangians. I'm okay with it. Because of all the handicaps we're playing with, I don't mind if a few of our minor clans and or player clans recruit normal troops. In fact, the player clans are definitely going to recruit normal troops because I have fiddled around with a couple mods that restrict player clans to your units only. But think about the problem. Say I give this city, Karbantsith, to George the Bandit King, and he can't recruit Battanian units. He'll have 0 troops, no defenders, only a militia, and we'll lose the city. We can never make any gains. One of the fellows that visits regularly suggested we use the My Little Warband mod and make our own units. I don't want to do that either. I don't want to get too far off the rails of artificiality. It's a lot of fun to do that, and it's definitely a mod I recommend people check out, but I don't want to do that for this campaign. So on some level, our player clans are going to have, Battanians. They're going to have whatever units, territory that we take over here with the Baron, and I think that's okay. I will continue to limit the Baron's army, the Baron's garrisons to Vlandian, minor clans, militia, bandits, etc. I haven't seen as many bandits lately. It's kind of like the bandits have been subdued. But they're still out there, and of course the Baron is starting to turn into a little bit of a Baron bandit overlord himself, right? He's starting to pick up 5, 6, 7 lake rats and sea raiders. I think we have a dozen sea raider chiefs too, so we'll take advantage of that again. We have so many disadvantages. I don't mind. How can I not hit that guy? There we go. I don't mind having a few advantages. Now this second division is just standing here in a giant long shield wall, firing javelins up there. And I think that could go up here, right? I have all of this support, all of these different skirmishers. We could charge with the other infantry division here. And I'm just going to go up. The Baron has a full health bar. He's got 300 two-handed and athleticism with a nasty weapon. I got javelins. Kind of start to feel immortal in this campaign, even though this guy, little militia, shot me right in the face. Have one right in the temple there, dude. A little payback. And let's go. Let's just start bowling our way through this city. We'll call the division to us here. For glory! He cuts the dude's head off. For glory! Not your glory! For our glory, right? He just cuts the dude down. Now we've got some infantry up here. Charge, boys. Although, they have a lot of defenders in this city, and they have good defenders too, right? Again, the Strength and AI mod, that ensures that you're facing tough opponents, Fiend champs, and high-end archers all the way through. I think that's a marksman. Indeed, that's a tier 5 Khuzait archer. So it continued. There's no such thing as just a cake siege defense in this campaign, or at least so it seems. In fact, they killed our attackers on the walls here. So the Baron's going to have to chop a hole here, try to free some of these guys into the city. Actually, the Baron's in trouble. That's a Vlandian. No thanks. I don't want to get cut apart. Okay, let's whip the shield out here. I got cover behind me, and look at this shit. Yeah, you guys keep swinging your weapons at me while 37 javelins hit you in the face. I'm just going to sit here and watch these guys get immolated by our skirmishers. Look at that shit. They're just smoking them. It's beautiful. Go to work, skirmishers. This guy on the right, kill him. They're just accumulating javelins in their kidney. You the fucker. And then sometimes you just... Fuck you guys, right? The Baron rampages. He's becoming a legit beast offensively, right? He's just absolutely lethal. And what's great is no custom weapons, right? The custom weapons would make the Baron even more sick. I reserve the right to do custom weapons, but we're probably not going to. How would I do that, you're wondering? Well, George the Bandit King. This is literally the guy's character from his campaign. George, we may put you to work in the smithy at some point. I don't think we're going to. I really want to avoid doing that, just because it would be so extraordinarily overpowered. But we'll see, right? We're facing lethal opponents here. Oh, shit. Now I'm in trouble. But we have that option if need be. I've got a few little levers I can pull in this campaign if we're just absolutely cooked, and that may be one of them. Still, I prefer just blood and sweat. Just bore in on these guys. And this is, for sure the RBM guys are like, it's not realistic that you could swing a sword for 4 straight minutes, just swinging it as hard as you can. It is what it is, right? I say it all the time. Do you really want Bannerlord to be realistic? Because let me remind you that almost every wound would be nearly mortal, right? Sepsis and disease and infection would run rampant. It's not like you had penicillin, right? So I don't think you really want realism. Plus, it's a video game. We're having fun here. I don't want all of my children dying at 3 of smallpox and typhus and the Black Plague and everything else. So I don't mind a little bit of unrealistic side. All of us, who doesn't like feeling like a superhero, right? When they play a video game. We play mortals in real life. We might as well play badasses in a video game. And the Baron is becoming an incredibly lethal badass. I mean, he's got elite equipment. Now, he's nothing like Hugh the Hammer, some of these other characters that are literally gods of the battlefield. But he's very, very powerful. I mean, Baron still can't throw javelins, or can he? I can't remember. I don't think he could throw javelins through shields yet. His javelin skill is mediocre. But we're making it work, and this is a beautiful success here, right? That's a pretty low amount of casualties for a well-defended city. 186. I mean, I guess I could have got it a little bit lower if we were a little bit more methodical, but I think under the circumstances, that's fine. We're not save scumming here. We're just going to roll right through, and victory is the big key, right? Of course, we want efficiency, victory, and no deaths. That smells like success to me. Now, I'm not going to give cities right away. I'll talk about that aspect as well. You don't really want to do that. You want to reinforce your cities. Of course, you don't have to make player clans until you're ready. I would not make a player clan until you have 2, 3, 4 cities and 2, 3, 4 castles. And I will talk about why and sort of the strategy behind that. Now, it depends on your location. It depends on the circumstances. And also where you choose to make those cities is important. I'm in a little bit of a pickle in that we can't expand south because of the Aserai, right? And we're role-playing, but it's also strategic. I would never declare war on the Aserai in this situation to take their territory. Whoops, we just ripped apart the walls here. We've got to do a little bit of garrison work here. I think I'll probably skip this portion for you. Dump some food into the city here if we have it. Get some horses, and then get on the move on it here. About 150. That's the most I like to leave in a city. Again, that militia, 2-3 days of all of those policies and bread and circuses going to work, and that militia will be activated right now. This is weird. I'm not about to give a city to a minor clan. I don't know if I think I've heard of that before, but I don't know if I've ever seen that before. I don't think that's from a mod, but why would I give them a minor clan here now? I think that's the king. We may fight him in person, but I can't imagine giving a city or a castle to a minor clan. They will just ditch you. This is the king. Ungard. Well, this is another battle we're going to fight. Obviously, it doesn't represent a threat, but it makes sense to me that anytime you have a showdown here versus, you know, a major figure in this campaign here, the Vlandian king, add to the fact that we have this sensational light to do some killing. Maybe the Baron can cut the guy's head off on the battlefield, right? That is a thing. It works beautifully. The Death for All mod, which increases death, and the Dismemberment mod. If you ever see a Lord get their head cut off on a battlefield, they died. And of course, it can happen to our units too. If you see George the Bandit King gets his head taken off, like at the edges of the screen in a battle, well, George, you died, dude. You got beheaded. I like that effect. Not you getting beheaded, George, by the way. But anyways, the Baron's going to try to take out the king here himself, right? Symbolically, the Baron represents all of the worst traits of humankind. He's conceited. He's a sexual, grifting, repulsive, I was going to say vacillating. He's definitely not vacillating, but he's conceited. He's vindictive. He's basically every single bad human trait possible. And so we're going to try to enact a little bit of revenge, a little bit of violence here on the king. If we can find the guy. There, he's right there. That's him, I think. I just decked him from his horse and then threw a javelin straight in his rectum. Oh, shit. I don't know if he died, but he certainly ate shit real bad. The Baron just completely right in front of this small Vlandian force, just completely disgraced and demoralized this force. I mean, just trucked their king. That's the way to die, right? Like, kings sometimes die in combat. How about having a javelin thrown into your rectum and then it ruptures your gastro? We'll trample the guy a few times here. It ruptures your sphincter or something like that and causes sepsis. That's a new one for kings out there. Now we're just going to quickly destroy this force here, get on a little extra bloodlust here as the Baron enjoys the destruction of this formerly proud Vlandian empire. If the king makes a sound too, right? If they groan a certain way with the Death for All mod, that also means they died. I don't think that guy died, but maybe, right? His empire is certainly dying here as all of our knights trample the battlefield in their crimson and sable. And we have this brilliant sunset to enjoy the demise of the king. Here he is. Look at his face is all bloody. he's got a javelin in the spleen and the rectum, and that right there, that's the perfect analogy for the Vlandian Empire. Just a bashed, bloodied, disheveled, and defiled kingdom that the Baron is now starting to trample into the dustbin of history here. Obviously, very efficient battle. 150 more upgrades. So another beautiful battle from the perspective of upgrades. Of course, it's always beautiful when you can fire a javelin for the killing shot right into the rectum of your supine enemy laying on their face. We showed those bastards. And the Baron is starting to, you could tell me playing him, right? We're starting to gain a little bit of cockiness here. Although you always, pride comes before the fall, right? You want to try to watch your own confidence level in a campaign like this, especially with all the mods we're running. However, I'm sure you guys are enjoying it, and I'm certainly enjoying it because there has been a lot of defeat and difficult spots of this campaign. It's fun to shove the shit in of the enemy here. In fact, we're getting stronger as all these little minor clans armies join the Baron's growing army, right? It's over 1,000. It might be 1,500 by the time those minor clans get enough troops to join you. And then I'm looking down, 45 minutes. It'll probably be next episode. We hand out some spoils here, right? We're going to start giving out fiefs to various different clans. And of course, that includes the creation of clans. That is something I've been trying to give priority to the Patreon supporters. Of course, if you want to be involved in this campaign or the future Nordic campaign, we are going to do an epic Nordic campaign. You want to join the Patreon. You can do so for as little as $2, right? For the price of half an energy drink, you too can join the channel here, support Tactical Enlightenment, and make it likely that I continue into the future making episodes, making epic campaigns, and including your characters alongside, some protagonist. Okay, I don't think so. See, this minor clan here is trying to take off. So that's why you always keep the leader. As soon as that happened, I leave and say, get your ass back in the army. Let's see if we can... It looks like we can recruit most or all of these little traitorous Skolderbroda that were going to leave us here. It sucks when you're about to launch a siege, but that happened kind of right at the beginning of the siege, so it's not that big a deal. Maybe you have to pay them more, and that's definitely something they should add. I'll go on a little rant here. The minor clans should go up to you in that situation and say, look, we're mercenaries. We don't mean, it's nothing personal, but we have an offer for, for 30% more than you're offering. The Khuzait are asking us to join them. Will you give us 50% more current dinars than you're giving us, right? Basically, would you increase the contract? And then you have the option of saying yes. Or you could even say, I'll give you 80% more if you'll give me allegiance for 2 years or something like that. It'd be really nice if they added in some elements like that where you could effectively pay for loyalty, because that's how it was back in the medieval era. You could take minor clans, mercenaries, German mercenaries were very common in the Napoleonic era, and say, hey, we'd like to buy your services. Unfortunately, the minor clans in Bannerlord just peace out without giving you any chance to... You can't even pay them more, even if you want, of course, unless you can track them down like we did just there. The gist of that little ramble over Caffeinated Rambles, make sure that you keep the leader of the minor clans in your army. Because, of course, if they're just roaming the map, or in somebody else's army, you can't recover them, right? They just take off, they run over to the Khuzait hundreds of miles away, and the next thing you know, Skolderbrodas are swinging their axes at you instead of the other way around, right? You want to keep at least the leaders of the minor clans in your army. I don't mean to belabor that point, but sometimes guys watch this, and even in, this is going to be like episode 50-something. Hopefully, I'm still helping players out with little tiny details like that. Now, I think we'll launch right here. There's a little bit of light. I'm in a hurry, right? Because we're going to have more war, right? I'm surprised the Vlandians haven't made a major attempt to stop us yet. Of course, we have been sort of smashing them along the way here. But I am worried eventually that we're going to face major resistance. So I'm trying to move along these battles, and it's fortunate we keep getting this incredible light, right? This looks like something out of a fairy tale. This castle, it's like a 3-staged beautiful castle by the water for sure. If there's like Bannerlord online and I was like a captain or something, and there was generals saying, hey, which castle do you want to defend? I would say all of the fellas on the Patreon and the Discord, I want all of those guys with me, and we're going to defend this castle here. This is Calais Castle, just an absolutely beautiful architectural, fantasy-like castle, and it's good for defense, right? It actually is highly defendable because you have this multi-layered defense. That said, of course, we badly outnumber the enemy here. I'm mostly fighting this to continue to ramble and talk about some of the stuff I'm talking about, and of course, sometimes I just edit these out. We'll see. I want to continue talking about the player clans. Let's talk about the player clan leaders here. I'll talk a little bit about the siege assault here. I'm bringing skirmishers up with the archers, and I'm going to have them dump incredible amounts of javelins as cover fire for our units as we get into the city. It's probably, or the castle, it's probably the most overpowered part. All those defenders up there, they block arrows pretty well. But once they get hit by this barrage, right? Watch this shit here. Look at this fucking barrage. The system like stalled because there were so many throwing weapons going to go flying through the air. These guys are going to literally melt once these skirmishers really get their throwing axes on. I mean, you can see them all flying through the air there, and there's just a heap of dead bodies up there. I like to micromanage those skirmishers, right? That way, if there's a big press of defenders up here, I can say, give them a volley, right? And they'll just light up the enemy. Right, watch this shit. Shoot at will. I'll give you a little close-up here as these guys just get completely decked into next week by throwing weapons. Shields are breaking. And it provides really nice cover fire for you to get up to the walls. Cut apart the defenders here as long as this isn't too difficult. We'll talk about some of the constituencies of good player clans. Some of most of it should be self-explanatory. You really don't want to have your warriors, your primary warriors, your group captains become player clans. There are exceptions, but Bannerlord is very much a jack of all trades, which is not a good spec, generally speaking, or you become elite at certain things, right? That is why, of course, I advocate for warrior captains, right? You develop 3 or 4 skills for, say, a warrior, and it might be a 2-handed weapon, shield, 1-handed, and athleticism, or maybe a throwing weapon or something like that. Then you have an archer captain, right? Archer, athleticism, a 1-handed weapon, or polearm, or something like that. Maybe you do scouting. But then you're building your leaders, right? And of course, it makes sense. Just like your main player character, you want to give your leaders steward, you want to give them medicine skill, you want to give them tactics. This is one of the few situations where the tactics skill is worthwhile. That is because they're going to be simulating. He's just cutting heads off left and right. The Baron is so savage. He's just becoming such a sick character. It's just a conveyor belt of death. He's going to take the whole castle here by himself. But you really do want your player clans to have at least inklings of leadership, right? Some steward skills, some medicine, preferably some scouting. That is because that helps them move around the battlefield in the campaign map. I'm actually getting cut off here. Could be in trouble, but they seem pretty intent on getting to the walls. One of them called me a coward here as I fight their whole garrison by myself. Doesn't seem to be. I'm going to go ahead and say that's fake news there, dude. No cowardice here. Just charging their whole garrison by himself. Actually, maybe it was the Baron that called them a coward. It's hard to tell sometimes. Now, this city is over. We're starting to call them children of non-married couples. And the Baron is just, cutting everybody down in this picturesque city here. So, you want to develop what I would consider party leaders for your army, and of course those are similar skills. In other words, they're going to have some steward, they're going to have medicine skill, and that includes the characters that come out of the tavern that are healers, that are one of the monikers is the Brave, or the Golden is a pretty good one, but it's essentially your companions that are really good at medicine skills. Maybe they're good at scouting. Sometimes there are some units that are a little bit better at steward skill or leadership. Absolutely, those are your player clan leaders, right? Now, you don't have to do that, right? Absolutely, you can have your warrior chieftain become a player clan leader. In fact, I can tell you right now, I'm probably going to give priority to the first player clan here, to Marshal Sax. Of course, we just introduced his character to this campaign, but this guy is dear to me. He runs our Discord. I said earlier he runs our Patreon. That's not really a thing. The guy runs our Discord. He's in there all the time. He's a veteran. Of course, as a veteran, I like to support other veterans, and he's been just extraordinarily helpful, faithful. He's very obedient, right? Mr. Joel Hall. He's just a good guy, and I think Marshal Sax and this crossbow captain of ours is probably going to be one of our first player clans. I don't know how many we'll do. We'll see. You can only give out so many treats, right? You can't give out all your castles and cities because then you don't have any garrisons yourself. But I think Marshal Sax, Joel Hall, I appreciate you, brother. You'll probably be, if not the first, one of the very first couple of player clans that we put in here. I'm just going to sort of fight through the rest of this garrison here as I finish that point. Now, we have, I have said it's okay for guys to send me their player character. I've already turned down a couple. One guy sent me his level 46 horse archer demigod from his campaign. It looks like it's from the very end of a campaign because he's old. I don't want to take ultra uber characters into this campaign for obvious reasons, right? We're trying to make this campaign very difficult. It's ultra artificial. If I take in, a level 46 god mode, the guy had like 300 medicine skill into our army just for free. I don't want to do that. But if you have a level 20, 25 character, I'm definitely okay with adding them to the campaign, even potentially as a player clan. And again, just one more pump to it since I'm really trying to go that route. Whoops. Can't fight very well while I'm narrating sometimes. If you want to be part of our campaign, whether it's the Norse campaign or this campaign, your best route is the Patreon. And I'm doing that because I would prefer to move to a less ad heavy revenue, right? Patreon, what I can actually do there is put ad-free episodes so that you guys don't have to watch any ads at all. Of course, There are plenty of guys who hate subscription services. I understand. That's why I try to get some of you guys on the YouTube site that are regular visitors, the guys who comment on a regular basis or that I can just tell are paying close attention to the campaign. I try to include you guys as well in these campaigns. Doing the best I can. Sometimes I forget, guys. Sometimes you get lost in the shuffle. And of course, sometimes there's simply too many requests, right? So we'll do the best we can here. Please don't take offense if I either don't acknowledge you, I probably didn't see it or forgot, or I simply don't get you into the campaign. I will do the very best I can, friends. All right, the rampage continues here, and it's straight to Druimore Castle, right? The Baron at this stage is in a full-out snowball effect, and until we get a counterpunch here by the enemy, we're just going to roll right along. Now, we're not giving any of these castles to this dipshit Yidwin of the Wolfskins, dipshit. He's not getting any of the possessions. I heard that guy's not even in part of the Patreon, right? That guy can eat shit. We're definitely going to give these suites to player clans. Now, of course, most of the will be people who are already part of the campaign. In other words, they have a storyline. We're not going to just put somebody brand new out of the tavern and give them a castle or a city. But Marshal Saxe clearly is high on the list, and obviously George the Bandit King is another supporter. It's very likely that you guys are going to have player clans in the very near future. Oops. Keep on ripping through here. I realize, this episode hasn't been the most epic, right? Our epic Vlandian campaign. There are going to be moments like this, although that can change in a heartbeat here, right? We have sturgeons looming. Looks like they're heading to Carbantheth. That's fine. We're going to be able to take this castle and then sweep in behind them and smash them into next week. It's actually aligning pretty well. An army of 600, too. That's juicy, right? We haven't had many armies come against us of 600, and I think part of the reason is that they're fighting the Khuzait. Of course, if you're following with the Khuzait side of this campaign, you know this, right? You're seeing Rylan, you're seeing Hal fight against the Khuzait, right? So this is a case where the sturgeons are being stretched thin, and maybe at some point or other they will declare peace with the Khuzait. We shall see. Now, Calais is under... Okay, so that's just a village. These fuck noble Vlandians are raiding our villages because that's all they can do, right? The Vlandians really are becoming quite impotent at this stage. Their king is still trying to pull the javelin out of his rectum in prison somewhere. Meanwhile, his empire, he's getting notes about his empire. Calais Castle fell, dude. Druimore Castle fell. Carbantheth, they took that as well. Like, he's just getting all this bad news. And at the same time, he still can't get that javelin out of his rectum. See how much YouTube censors me for javelins being in rectums. I don't know. The rules seem quite strange sometimes. All right, we're going to smash through this city as well. The Baron's going to lead the way here. He's going to get his sword bloody. We're still trying to be efficient, right? So again, I have this second division with skirmishers here unloading on these poor bastards at the wall. And going to try to continue to roll right along here. Now I'm looking down. This probably will be the last siege of this episode, but we'll see. And I may edit some of these out, like I said before. But in this early stage where it's so critical that you expand your kingdom and do so quickly and efficiently, I'm going to try to show most of these steps just because I do get a lot of players that are like, what do I do? How do I expand? How do I give out cities and castles to vassals? Who do you elect as a vassal, right? This thought process, and I'm certainly not the only answer to it. There's lots and lots of other good YouTube content creators out there, and plenty of the guys that visit the channel. You guys have your own ideas. Some of you probably, your ideas are better than mine, right? I like to acknowledge that as much as I'm experienced at Bannerlord, I still regularly learn on the channel, and I appreciate that, right? Don't ever hesitate to say, hey, have you thought about doing this? The only bad comment is the trolling comments where you're obviously just being a smart ass or something like that, or the ones that are not mentioned, right? If you have a question you're not sure, but you feel embarrassed to answer it, I assure you, right? People are not going to make fun of you. They're not going to, why? Because I'll fucking chastise those fellas and tell them, hey man, this is going to be a positive environment. even though we're dismembering our foe and throwing javelins into their rectum, we're going to be cruel with our supporters here, with the people watching. Ultimately, this is a game, right? We're all just trying to have fun while we carve apart little little tiny computer characters. What, animatronics? I don't know what the fuck. You know what I'm trying to say. We're going to kill these little pixels here and have a good time doing it. And if I can help you mow down some militia with a javelin to the jugular, I'm going to do so. Now that wraps up a very quick siege assault here at Druamore Castle. So the Baron is really on a roll now, right? There was a stage where I think we were down to 1 city and 2 castles. And obviously, you can turn things around quickly when your enemy is distracted. Now, how long the Aserai give the Vlandians peace is to be determined. I have 2 different checks to that for people who are wondering. One of them is going to be a time basis, and I will build that into the storyline. The other one will simply be the AI deciding, hey, it's time to attack the Vlandians. We'll roll with it, right? Or excuse me, time to attack House York. If all of a sudden, you get the war sound, and it says, the Aserai have declared war on us, I'm not going to sue for peace under this storyline. We will simply roll with it, and we will build that into the storyline, right? That's the beautiful part of this from a content creator, is I can take the twists and turns of this campaign and just roll it right into the storyline, right? Manchug died of old age, or did he, right? Of course, that's the beautiful part as a content creator. I can leave it up to speculation. Now, I think we'll fight this army of sturgeons here. 700. Guys ask for this sometimes. They're like, how do you defend or how do you destroy smaller armies and minimize casualties? Right? This episode is an unusual episode. Usually our episodes are full of slaughters. I'm going to let this other sturgeon army get here, right? I want all my sturgeons in one pot so we can obliterate them all together. And of course, the final hope of all of this is expansion. How do you do so with a minimum of casualties in each of these battles? Our skirmisher division is starting to dwindle a little bit. I see a lot of lake rats taking casualties. That's okay. We still have Skolderbroda, right? Those guys are badass. They're probably my second favorite minor clan. They've got really unique, powerful tier 4 units. What do they have? An axe, a shield, and throwing axes, right? Or something like that. 2-handed axe. It's a really good character build, minor clan character build. And of course, I think all of us are curious, what are going to be the minor clans for the Nords, right? I sure hope they add some. My gut feeling is that they should add some kind of savage 2-handed axed cavalry. I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they won't do anything at all. But again, under the 0.1% chance there's anybody from Tail Worlds, there isn't any, as far as I know. A 2-handed axed cavalryman, maybe they could give them some throwing axes or something like that. But I think the Nords that don't have any cavalry of their own would really benefit from having like this minor clan, these mercenaries that they could hire that do ride horses, that have 2-handed axes still, right? That are savage on a horse. Maybe they're vulnerable to enemy cavalry charges, but you get them mixed in with archers and it's just head-lopping city. I think that would be a really good feature. Maybe Tail Worlds doesn't give a shit about my opinion, even though I've got, a quarter of my life played in Bannerlord at this stage. We got, according to the console, it says 15,000 hours. Although I must tell you, when I play at work and we run a fire call for 4 hours and the game is paused, it counts all that, right? So you got to take it with a grain of salt. There's a sturgeon lord there. Nord Lord, that's female, it sounds like. But at this stage, we're gaining a pretty high amount of experience, and I would say repute in Bannerlord. People say goat. The goat. I'm not a real big fan of that moniker. Rather presumptuous. I'm sure there are some incredible players out there, but I do appreciate the sentiment, fellas. Let's pull back here to square. I've got the 7th Division ready to assist. Any kind of threats here? The 6th Division is still setting up. We're doing our standard formation here. I'm getting very comfortable with having this 7th Skirmisher Division, although, like I said, those skirmishers are starting to starting to die down, and that makes me a little sad because, of course, the Vlandians don't have any natural skirmishers. They have little pathetic throwing-axed Volgiers. But if you're using your Volgiers at range, you got a problem. They have no shield. They should be up close using that giant fucking Volge. It's a little bit messy because the enemy has a huge amount of cavalry here. I'm surprised how many troops the enemy has here. It seems like we would have a big numerical advantage. In fact, they're getting a lot of kills. But this is going to be a thing in this campaign, right? The enemy has nasty troops in almost every battle. And all of the remaining kingdoms are nasty, right? The Khuzait, the Vlandians don't really even count. But the Sturgeons have these ultra-powerful Varangians, and then of course the Aserai have unbelievably powerful units already, probably the best singular units of any kingdom in the game, and then they have elite lords giving them all kinds of bonuses. It's going to be a challenge from here on out. That said, of course, the death spam looks good here. Let's get the skirmishers on the enemy's left flank, start lobbing in some javelins. That'll clear out space for the archers. I love having skirmishers play a nice little layer between the archers, or in this case crossbow, and the enemy. Works really, really well because the skirmishers usually have shields, and then of course your archers behind them have this layer of meat and protection, and yet both units can kill at range. We've got the enemy pretty well surrounded here, but what an enemy, right? It's still Varangians. It's still, of course, they have banner knights and sharpshooters. They're trying to bring their crossbow here to shoot. Hell no, right? We're going to trample right through these archers. Let's bring our skirmishers up here and get aggressive. And I'm just going to drag this 8th Division right through here behind me. This is like 130 horses, and we can just have these guys follow us. All of these archers very quickly, crossbow, are going to be getting run over by angry heavy cavalry. This big, long phalanx of our cavalry just stampedes their way through. 7th Division, 2nd Division can be told to charge. Let's get these other divisions up here in a hurry, too. It's very bloody, right? And again, Varangians. I'll say it probably every episode. These are a whole new level. Shit, our 7th Division got overextended. Those guys are going to suffer some consequences. God, they're all tied up. Get out of there, George. George the Bandit King, man, I led you astray this battle. And the enemy is pursuing. Let's get these guys pulled out quickly. Let's bring other support units up. Obviously, your skirmishers should be the last melee units to fight, right? Our shock troops are not in there. Our heavy infantry are not in there. And they are fucking pursuing our guys here. Sorry, Zeus. I'm going to put these guys right back here. I'm going to join them. And they are hungry for our skirmishers here. I've got them in a square, but obviously they're still getting attacked by a huge force. Oh, shit. Those Sturgeon soldiers on me. Get over here, 1st Division. God, the 3rd Division is over there fighting cavalry. I don't even know if they're going to make it here. I'm kind of in trouble. Godspeed, George. I'm getting axes swung right at my head. Yeah, you fucker, I see you. These tough Sturgeon axemen. Die! Damn, it's like all Sturgeon infantry. Oh, you know what happened here? These are reinforcements. I've popped out right in the middle of reinforcements. Okay. Yeah, sometimes you step into it a little bit. I am literally surrounded. Okay, it's time to go. We're getting surrounded. And sometimes, you know, this is where good athleticism, you just run away. It's a huge luxury. It's very hard to get countered. And it's very hard to get trapped when you have 300 plus athleticism. You just simply run away. I still got half a health bar. And this battle is all but over. The power bar, in fact, I think for this episode, normally, you know, for you guys, I've been blotting it out a lot. I think I'm just going to leave it. I'm looking up now. You can see the enemy is destroyed. And not super clean. We got George and his skirmishers pretty mauled there. We're going to have to rebuild our skirmisher division. It's going to be slow and tedious because there's no lake rats nearby now. 400 casualties, 200 deaths is a lot more than I wanted there. That counts as a fail. I would say that's a tactical fail. We lost a mountain bandit boss. Those guys are very hard to acquire, but at least no deaths. And I think I'm going to wrap this episode up. It has been action-packed. The action hasn't been epic, right? I almost need to apologize because you guys are used to battles of 3,200 against 2,600, but I think it's okay, right? We'll mix in my mouse is tweaking on me a little bit. We'll mix in some smaller battles. We'll mix in more campaign strategy as this epic campaign rolls along, right? We want to include little tidbits like this for the guys trying to benefit a little bit in their campaign, trying to learn some of the nuances of Bannerlord. See, the militia is activated. There's 600 defenders. There's still work to be done, but the Vlandians they don't know which way is up. They're being uppercut, and all it's going to take now is a roundhouse from the Baron, maybe a kick or two, and they're going to be gone. And then, of course, the real war looms, right? The Sturgeons, the Aserai, and the Khuzait. How's it gonna roll out, right? We shall see. Of course, now's your chance to subscribe. Hit notify, that way you know when new episodes come out. Leave any comments, criticism, etc. And I will see you, friends, next time.